The Yellow Tooth Adventure. Chapter 3.
The thought of choosing a new first officer was troubling. David had 3 commanders: Dale Sims, the chief of the sensor lab; Tasha Peal, the chief of security; George Hardwick, assistant to the chief of engineering. The senior commander was Tasha Peal. David called the 3 to visit him in his ready room. As the 3 sat, David said, "Dale, George, Tasha, Larry is now a captain and will receive his ship in 6 months. You 3 are the finest officers in the Navy. But there can be only one first officer. Therefore, I have decided to give the right of first refusal to the senior of you 3, so Tasha, I nominate you to be the next first officer of the USS Constitution. What do you say?" Tasha sat silent. Dale spoke to her.
"Tasha, you are our first officer. What do you say?"
George clapped his hands.
Tasha, you are number 1.
She looked at each man in the ready room.
Captain, I never thought you would choose me. Are you sure?
David smiled. "I have never been so sure. You will serve as first officer beginning the moment you walk out of this office." Tasha spoke, tears in her eyes.
Captain.
They all stepped out of the ready room. "Tall, ship wide, please."
Ship wide, sir.
"Now hear this. This is the captain. Our new first officer is Commander Tasha Peal. Captain Sorenson will receive his new ship in 6 months. It will be the USS Omar Bradley, a Bradley Class Dreadnaught. That is all. Captain out." Stella looked around.
Commander Peal, congratulations.
Tasha smiled, leaned over, and whispered in Stella's ear.
Your husband has got to be the best captain in the Navy. I never thought I would have a chance for first officer since George and Dale are such good men.
Stella looked up at her.
If David has his way, you will captain your own ship one day.
Tasha smiled.
I believe it.
David said, "Larry, please. Work with Tasha while you're still with us." Larry smiled a fiendish grin, wringing his hands together.
"My pleasure, sir." "Ha ha ha, you're mine, Tasha Peal. You're all mine, all mine."
David laughed. "Number 1, you have the con. Take us into the wormhole 5 nanoseconds in." Larry stood beside her and watched as she ordered the computer to come to a halt 5 nanoseconds into the wormhole. Tasha looked at Larry.
What should I do?
He smiled and replied,
"Ask Commander Sims to scan the area as best he can."
Tasha called.
Sensor lab, please scan the area and report.
The voice of Admiral Sims replied.
Scanning, sir.
Moments later, Admiral Sims reported.
We saw a fleeting glimpse of the Confederation. Admiral Yellowtooth's ship, but it faded away before we could do anything. However, a Krill battlecruiser is charging its weapons array and coming our way at sublight speed.
Tasha ordered.
Shields. Tal, hail that battle cruiser.
Tal responded.
On screen, sir.
Tasha ordered.
Krill battle cruiser, stand down. This is the USS Constitution of the United System Navy, stand down.
The Krill captain replied.
Curse words, like, curse words, I will.
The figure turned to someone off screen.
Fire at will.
Tasha ordered.
1 torpedo, target their engines. Fire!
The area around the engines disappeared in a firestorm. Over the comm, on screen, the Krill captain cried.
We surrender.
Tasha ordered.
Security, 6 men to the teleported room, heavy rifles, personal shields.
Then, to the Krill battle cruiser.
Prepare to be boarded.
Then,
Lieutenant Stevens, you have the con.
And Tasha left to board the Krill battle cruiser. Larry entered the ready room.
"Dave, you got a hard charger there."
David replied, "I know, but kindly advise her to ease up a little. I don't want her burning out." Larry nodded.
"I'll do what I can."
David said, "Larry, as captain, you're going to have to be that kind of guy."
"I've been a captain, as you know well. But I've learned some things from you that I will keep practicing."
Tasha entered the teleporter room and greeted the security detail.
Chief, going with us?
The chief petty officer that had been her deputy replied.
Yes, sir. By the way, who's going to be security chief now, sir?
She replied.
You. At least until the captain says otherwise, but I will advise him to keep you on. Let's get over there, lasers on stun. Don't hesitate to shoot.
As the boarding party began to materialize just outside the bridge, in a side corridor, The team stormed the bridge of the Krill battlecruiser, and as they did, they came under fire. Well-placed stun shots brought the bridge under USF Navy control. Tasha spotted the captain and ordered him to be revived. As he awoke, Tasha spoke.
Captain, we are not your enemy. We have come to help you back to your home world.
The captain of the Krill vessel stood trembling yet defiant.
You are the enemy. You are here to destroy us and our ship.
Tasha just shook her head.
Can your people repair your engines?
The captain, still defiant.
I'll not tell you anything.
Tasha called.
O'Reilly, would you send me an engineer to disable this ship's teleporter, please?
I'll be right over, sir.
When O'Reilly arrived, Tasha told him she wanted to disable the teleporter but be able to reactivate it remotely, and secure the entry to the teleporter room, reactivated remotely. Captain O'Reilly worked for several hours and reported to Tasha.
The teleporter is disabled, and the door is sealed from the inside of the room. It would take a good welder several hours to cut through the door. But just push this button, and the door and teleporter will open to the Krill. Good enough, sir.
Tasha put her arms around O'Reilly and kissed his cheek.
Good enough. Thanks, Captain O'Reilly.
Tasha explained all this to the Krill captain and then set out to tow the battlecruiser out of the wormhole to the Krill home world. As the Constitution towed the Krill battlecruiser toward their home world, Tasha ordered Stella to contact negotiator Sheila to broker a peaceful return of these battle-weary veterans. Stella and Tal worked to establish a link with Sheila, and after exchanging pleasantries,
Sheila, we have a disabled Krill battlecruiser in tow. These warriors still believe that your people and ours are at war. We rescued them from the wormhole. They, probably, were trapped in the wormhole for years. They will need help.
Sheila answered.
I will work with them to help them acclimate to today's situation. Thank you, friend Stella. Please greet your captain and Susan for me.
Larry entered the ready room.
Dave, Tasha handled that situation like a seasoned captain. You made the right choice making her your number one.
David nodded. I believe any one of the three would have done as well. But Tasha deserved the position. But I'm glad you approve. Sit, my good friend, and tell me just what she did. Larry told David the story, embellishing a little here and there. And David just smiled at the newly appointed captain of the USS Omar Bradley. David asked Tasha to come into the ready room and said, Commander Peal, you're my number one, and I am very pleased with the way you handled the situation with the Krill battlecruiser. I want your recommendation for Chief of Security, please. She did not hesitate.
I recommend Chief Briggs, sir.
David nodded. Good. You may inform the chief and give him his new Master Chief Petty Officer stripes. Tasha jumped up.
Thank you, sir.
Then, she ran out.
Stella, you have the con.
Tasha called.
Tal, shipwide, please.
He replied.
Shipwide, sir.
Now hear this. This is the first officer. All security personnel will assemble in the wardroom in 15 minutes. That is all.
In the wardroom, Tasha announced that Chief Briggs was the new Chief of Security. Then she called.
Attention. Senior Chief Briggs, front and center.
She looked at the chief, and a bright smile lit her face.
Bob, it is with great joy that I present you with your new Master Chief Petty Officer stripes. Congratulations, and good luck.
Upon arrival at the Krill homeworld, negotiator Sheila teleported aboard the Constitution to formally assume control of the Krill battlecruiser. First, she greeted her friends. The captain congratulated Larry and Tasha on their new positions and teleported to the battlecruiser, where a Krill security detail had already taken control of the ship. Finally, she explained what the new Krill regime had obligated themselves to do for these weary veteran warriors. As the Constitution broke orbit, Tal reported.
Commander Peal, you are being hailed by the battlecruiser's captain.
On screen.
The Krill captain's face appeared on screen.
Commander, I am Captain John and I apologize for doubting you. Thank you.
Tasha replied.
I understand. I will always remember you, Captain John. Thank you.
David assumed the command chair, back to the wormhole. UL-12, please. The Constitution approached the Gavergan wormhole and paused just before the event horizon to contemplate the next move. David called, Number 1, ready room, please. Larry, you too, if you will. Tasha and Larry sat and looked at their captain. Tasha, Larry, what can we expect when we go in 6 nanoseconds? Of course, you don't know. But we have come across friendly souls and unfriendly people. We must be ready to find a lost ship or ships that are superior, and we may have to use deadly force or even run. That thought is not one I really like to think about, But this ship and her crew are always foremost in my mind. I want us to be thinking and praying all the time. David shrugged. Tasha, are you ready? She nodded her head.
Yes, sir.
Then, take us in 6 nanoseconds.
Captain.
6 nanoseconds and the ship came to a complete stop. Tasha called.
Sensor lab, what have we got?
Again, Admiral Sims' voice replied.
Again, we caught a glimpse of the Confederation, but she slipped away before we could do anything.
Then Dale's voice came over the comm.
We have a ship approaching. The damn thing is 3 miles in diameter. Tasha, it's a ship from the robot world, New Earth. They're powering up their weapons.
Tasha ordered.
Full shields. Power up our weapons. I want the plasma cannons ready. Captain, we are facing a ship from the robot world, New Earth.
David ran out. Larry, on one plasma cannon. Tasha, you on the other. Tasha ordered.
Tal, hail that ship.
The vestige of the robot commander appeared on screen. Commander, this is the USS Constitution of the United System Federation Navy. Stand down. David ordered. Computer, play the order of Commander Jenkins of the heavy cruiser Omega to the approaching fleet at New Earth. The computer played the recording from many years before.
This is Commander Jenkins of the heavy cruiser Omega to an approaching ship. You are directed to access our Creator's original Prime Directive. This is Commander Jenkins of the heavy cruiser Omega to an approaching ship. You are directed to access our Creator's original Prime Directive.
The approaching ship fired its primary weapon, and the shields of the Constitution took a devastating hit. Captain, our shields are down to 60%.
David ordered. Plasma weapons, fire. Both plasma cannons fired, and Larry fired 3 nanoseconds before Tasha's. The first blast seemed to weaken the monster ship's shields, and the second blasted the ship's weapons array, and the weapons array disappeared, just blinked out of existence. However, a torpedo raced toward the Constitution, but one laser shot and the torpedo blew up. David ordered a second salvo on the plasma cannons, and the massive ship stopped moving, and a voice came over the comm.
We surrender.
Tasha ordered. Chief Briggs, take a team over to that ship and bring them back here in irons.
Everyone heard the chief's reply, a very enthusiastic.
Aye aye, Commander.
Chief Briggs took the biggest security men with him and chained the commander of the behemoth ship back to the captain in chains. As the robot stood in the brig, David commanded the computer to play Commander Jenkins' words. The robot staggered momentarily. Then the commander said,
Captain, we have made a grievous error. Our prime directive is to serve and protect life.
David nodded. What will you do to make reparations? The commander replied,
What are your orders?
David said, I'm not going to order you to do anything, but I suggest you return to New Earth and join the others there. The robot replied.
How?
David replied, we will tow you out of the wormhole. You can make such repairs as needed and find your way home. The commander said.
We will do as you suggest.
Chief, keep them in the brig until I tell you to release them, then send them to their ship.
Tasha ordered. David looked at Tasha and smiled. Let's latch onto the thing and tow it out of this place. Just another day in the Navy. When they reached the bridge, David told Tasha, let's let Stella tow that ship out of here. Stella turned to David, a look of pure panic in her eyes.
Me? Tasha's first officer.
Lieutenant, we've done it before. David smiled at her. I'll stand by your side and let you know when I think there might be a problem. She asked.
When?
He said, now. She stood and approached the command chair.
O'Reilly, we're going to tow that ship out of the wormhole.
Her voice shaking.
Please engage the tractor beam.
O'Reilly returned.
Activated. Slow and easy, girl.
She turned and saw Tasha at the helm.
Helm, exit the wormhole the way we entered.
The two ships successfully exited the wormhole, and Stella breathed a sigh of relief. Tasha motioned to Stella to take the helm. She ordered Chief Briggs to teleport the robots back to their ship. David called the commander of the other ship. Commander, do you know your way home? He replied.
Yes, Captain. As soon as we repair our engines, we will depart for New Earth.
David turned to Tasha. Number 1, let's go to the Krill home world and rest a couple of shifts. She replied.
Aye, Captain. Tal, shipwide, please.
Shipwide, sir.
Now hear this. This is the first officer. We will establish orbit around the Krill homeworld for a couple of shifts of downtime, minimal staffing. That is all.
While the ship orbited the Krill homeworld, they received a call from Negotiator Sheila.
Greetings, Captain. To what do we owe this honor?
David nodded to Tasha.
Negotiator Sheila, this is Tasha Peal. I'm the new first officer, and the captain wanted me to tell you that we need a little time to rest. May we remain in orbit for a couple of days? We won't be teleporting down, just resting.
Negotiator Sheila replied.
Request approved. Congratulations, Tasha.
After 2 days, ship's time, Negotiator Sheila hailed the ship.
Tasha, the Prime Minister says that you must leave now. I am sorry.
Tasha replied.
We're just leaving. But according to the treaty we have with your people, we can take 3 days shore leave here. So just remind the Prime Minister about that.
Tasha looked at David and asked.
Back to the wormhole?
He replied, no, Sector 00. Larry will be taking command of his new ship, she said.
It's early.
He replied, I got Admiral Merovitch's call last evening. I hate to see my friend go, but he deserves his own ship. He doesn't know yet, don't tell him. Admirals Merovitch and Halloran want to surprise him. David looked around the bridge, and no one here had better not tell him, either. Everyone on the bridge smiled and turned back to work. David told Stella, Helm, UL5 please. She turned with a questioning look.
UL5. Sir?
David answered, we have to arrive at precisely 1300, Pacific Standard Time, 10 days from now. And, David raised his voice, everyone here must be in their whites then. Then, after a pause, David ordered, Tall, ship wide, please.
Shipwide, sir.
This is the captain. Tomorrow at 1300 hours, the Constitution will be inspected by Admirals Merovitch and Halloran. The uniform of the day will be dress whites. Captain Sorenson, you will escort the admirals to the bridge. All bridge personnel will be present on the bridge when the admirals arrive. That is all. At 1300 the next day, Larry escorted Admirals Merovitch and Halloran to the bridge. As they entered, Tasha sang out,
Admirals on the bridge.
Admiral Halloran ordered,
Computer, audio/visual ship wide.
Then the two admirals stood on either side of Captain Sorenson.
Captain Sorenson, after this ceremony, you will teleport to the USS Omar Bradley and assume command of that vessel.
Then Admiral Merovitch pinned the unique badge representing the Bradley on Larry's chest.
Captain,
the admiral said with a sweeping motion.
The Bradley is all yours. The crew is aboard, and I believe you know your first officer, Commander Dale Sims.
Dale stepped up and reported.
Commander Sims reporting as ordered, Captain.
Admiral Sims stood beside her husband, smiling.
Congratulations, Captain.
Larry blushed and stammered.
Thing, where are you? Hey, Admirals.
Admiral Halloran smiled at Tasha.
Congratulations, Tasha. David tells me you have already cemented your place as First Office of the Constitution. Keep up the good work.
After that, the three admirals left the ship. Larry teleported to the Bradley, and David ordered, Helm, back to the wormhole. Tasha, you have the con.